It's like we skipped spring and went straight to summer. It's going to be like 90 degrees today here in my Zone 5B garden, and I'm up for it. You know, it's really got things growing fast. Hi everybody, I'm Lori, your Milkweeds and Roses gardener, and I'm here in the middle of Iowa, Zone 5B, where it's unusually warm weather right now, which was preceded by unusually cold weather. And that's just the cycle, the nature of where I live. How about you? Because it is so warm and things are growing and we're getting ready to head into summer, I thought that I would start to grow some vegetables. Now, I don't have a garden plot here. I'm mostly dry shade and I have a few pockets of sun, but not really the right conditions to have a big vegetable garden. So what I do instead is I grow vegetables that I like to eat, things that I like to eat, in containers. For example, radishes, which are pretty short season to grow, and carrots. I'm going to try some new carrots this year. I'm going to try sugar snacks, candy, and glow sticks. I saw the descriptions of these and I thought, yeah, they look interesting. Now, I've got way more seeds than I'm going to need, but I figure I could certainly get started and maybe I can keep a succession of these growing. Let's see. All right. Oh, and I also have some hand watering to do through a lot of my garden spaces here where I've put in some new plants because, as I'm sure I've told you before, this area up here on what I now call Pollinator Point is not irrigated. It's not hooked up to any sort of watering, so we rely on the weather. But for the new plants I've put in, they do need to stay hydrated to get a good kickstart. So we'll be hand watering some things. So I hope you come along. We've got work to do. Let's get going.
For starters, I do have a spot that gets at least 8 hours of sun. That's why I've got my lime tree here, my roses here. This gets morning sun and sun in the afternoon till roughly like 5 o'clock, so all day. And things here will thrive. So I thought I'd try carrots and radishes here. Now I've got some containers and I filled them with some container mix. I just got this at the big box store. It's got fertilizer in it. And to clean off the name tags, the plant tags for these, I've found that just simple fingernail polish remover, little wipes, work the best. Because that way it's pretty slick. I don't have to worry about anything spilling in the backyard because I don't want to keep this, on the grass or anyplace else. So, but it's a good place, a good method for just cleaning off those plant tags, which, by the way, I just got these tags on Amazon. You can find the metal plant tags. Just do a quick search, and they're fairly inexpensive. And then, I got to make sure to label every carrot and every package and when I sow them. And to label them, I found that acrylic paint markers, which I also got on Amazon, or you can get at your local paint store or local art store. And these last a long time out in the landscape, no matter what the weather. So, and they can have a nice fine point. I get the smaller pens. That way, if there is a longer label, I can at least read it and it still has some good details. So the key is wherever you put these pens, make sure they don't go through the washer and dryer, okay? So keep them safe and away from everything else. But they dry quickly, and so I just wrote out the names of the seeds that I'm going to sow and, when I'm going to sow them, so I have some idea of, because I'll lose track, I guarantee it. And then I can backtrack and read the seed packet and find when I should start maybe harvesting these or seeing if they're ready to harvest by pulling out one or two. So it also shows on the seed packet the germination rate, the germination time and what to expect and the conditions that they need. So I always keep these seed packets handy. So sugar snacks, the other variety that I'm sowing, I put the date down there after I put down the label and I just stick them right in the pot. And that's a good way to keep track because this girl has learned that it all is forgotten in the rush of gardening, trying to get it all done, multiple projects all at once, especially if you're like me and you do you do varied things, not just gardening, but other things, and it keeps you busy. And yeah, it's easy to forget. So glow stick, the other variety of carrots that I'm growing in there. So all of these are new to me varieties. So I'm not sure what to expect. But gosh, if I get a couple handfuls, enough for a few salads, I'll be happy. And I figure I can succession sow them. Like I can sow one and grow them, and then maybe refresh the soil and grow another. So here I've put them in their position, where it's just kind of easy to sow them there. The pots are mostly full of soil now. I'm not trying to over sow this, so I'm just kind of sprinkling them lightly on the surface. The seeds are so tiny. Raking them in gently there, making sure there are no hard clumps or anything like that in the soil. To have carrots grow in here, if this is a really short pot, then I would want a shorter variety of carrots. Back on the farm that I grew up on, we grew carrots and beans and sweet corn and regular corn and soybeans and all these other things outside because we had the space and we had the fields and we had the dirt for it. But when you live in town or even just have a patio available, I'd like to think you can still grow what you want, not just pretty flowers, but also vegetables and maybe some types of fruit. It just depends on the sun and the conditions. Now you notice I also have these on rolling coasters, and the drainage hole in the pot is lined up to the drainage hole in the coaster. So when it does rain, or when I do water this, it drains thoroughly, it drains freely. So I cover this in a basket. The eastern chipmunks that like to dig and plant things. Squirrels will do that too, but mostly they're just finding things and eating them. But chipmunks like to build a cache of nuts and all kinds of things, and they'll be digging and burying things in my containers all season long. So I have to find a way to thwart them. So either that's stones on the surface, or either I have to cover it with some type of mesh or some type of cloche, wire cloche, so that they don't like to get through it. Now my next variety here, that's another one that I'd like to try, and hopefully this is going to work. Again, the pot is nice and warm. It's not huge, but again, you can see neither are these radish seeds. So we'll try. We'll just kind of sprinkle them there on the top. And again, brown, round seeds, you're just not going to see them once they're on the dirt. So I try to keep them away from the absolute edges here, but I'm hoping in about less than 2 weeks, you'll start to see a flush of new little leaves at the surface. And the last one, another hybrid carrot. But those are pelleted seeds. That's what the white coating is. And again, scratching them in just to the surface and then pressing down with my hand lightly, not stomping it in there or anything, but pressing down so the seeds make contact with the soil. And the last step, to water them in. And, you're not seeing that here, but yes, I covered some wire mesh over the top of those other two pots. Got to thwart the squinnies. And the next step, this time of year, it's the beginning of summer. We're coming into summer, and it's hot. So I have to remember, since I don't have any irrigation up here on Pollinator Point, I have to hand water, especially the newest plants. Now my tree gets 3 gallons a day for the first 2 weeks. That's what that yellow bucket is for. And in that bucket, I have two very small holes. So it's a slow drain, and that keeps the tree watered. And then I back off on the watering schedule as the weeks go on. But these containers, they're not very big, and they rely on my watering. Now, sometimes the lawn irrigation can sprinkle these, can hit some of these, but I found that's not always the case. So this particular one, this little zinnia, was really looking a little bit puckered. So I made sure to water that one. I noticed the darker, smaller pots, they absorb the sun and get warm and dry out a little bit faster. Now in these pots, I have some gladiolas planted at the bottom, nice and deep, so the stems will stand up tall and be sturdy, and those will come up, at least 3 or 4 weeks yet before those start to surface. But in the meantime, I just put some lantanas on the top, so I'm just not looking at buckets of dirt for weeks on end until those gladiolas come through. So the gladiolas in pots I've found is a little bit easier than in the landscape, because then when they're done blooming for the end of the year, they're not hardy in my zone. They have to be dug up and stored in the garage. So it's easier to do that when they're in a container. You just tip it and grab it. But keeping this well watered, these will continue to bloom. And I make sure they're always pollinator friendly plants. That's what keeps it going. And my tomato plants, I believe this is a determinate tomato. Roses, especially the new roses that I've just put in. Now, you were with me just a couple weeks ago when we put this one in. So I have to make sure to keep this moist at least in the first year. And very mild on the fertilizer. Just organic stuff, that's it. Because they can get burned. The roots can get burned so easily. And in fact, heirloom roses, where I got them, they'll void the warranty if you use any other kind of harsh fertilizer. And then don't have luck with your roses, because under their warranty, you have to be very selective about what you're using to fertilize them, because you can ruin them and set them back or even kill them if you use stuff that's too harsh. So just keeping these watered, because we're in a bit of a dry spell here and it is going to get warmer and warmer. So I just make sure to stay on top of the watering. And again, hand watering these because they're not being hit by the sprinkler system, which is just as well. Frankly, they like to be watered at the base anyway. So that's the way that one goes. So far, so good. Now, this is also the beginning of, yes, deadheading, which I find to be kind of meditative, frankly. People have asked me about deadheading clematis. You see those poofy, those pom-pom looking things after the flowers are done? Those are the seed heads. Now, you can trim those down or leave them up, I guess, if you want. But John Warren, which is a type 2 clematis, can bloom again at the end of summer, lightly, but you have to prune some of those pom-poms off if that's the case. Now, I've got a lot of salvia here, and that just begs for deadheading. So right now, the flowers are just beginning. Roses, that's about keeping those deadheading if you want to keep the flower show going. It's easier when you just have, a hybrid tea rose where there's just one growing off of a stem, but the important thing is to cut to a 5-leaf junction, not just cutting off the rose tip or cutting it to where there's 3 leaves. Those 3 leaves are meant to just frame the rose. That's not a growing tip. So you cut to where there's 5 leaves after the rose is done, and then it will continue to bloom. Now, it's a little bit harder when you're talking about a floribunda or a grandiflora. Those have clusters of blooms, and you can wait till the whole cluster is done blooming if you want to go a little bit more low maintenance. But if you want to get rid of that one dead rose in the cluster, just trim down to the cluster. That's it. So those others can continue to bloom. Salvia, you can see those have sprawled in the middle. Now, I should do a hard prune and take it clear down, but I've got all these brand new blooms and the bees are just starting to find them. And, I'm sure not going to take their opportunity away at this point, because I think this little guy is going to go tell his friends, hey, we've got some salvia and they're in bloom right now. Come on over. The bees are just starting to show up at my garden. And I do have a wildlife certified garden, so got to go easy on that.
Lavender Lassie in bloom. Yeah, she continues to be my miracle. She's a zone 6 rose, and I'm here in 5B, so some things do work out after all. Knock on wood. I hope that you subscribe so you can follow along and see how it goes growing carrots and radishes in containers. Wish me luck. Hey, it'll be worth it. It's always worth the effort. And even if it doesn't work out, or even if we have a small harvest, it's always a learning lesson. I hope to see you next time right here on Milkweeds and Roses Gardener. Hope all is green and growing in your backyard. Bye.